Hello, and welcome to an episode of Lost and Found with Frankie. And today I have a really special guest on, my best friend Leah. We have been friends for 13 years since our first year at secondary school. She's been with me through a lot of ups and a lot of downs in my life, and recently has gone through a loss of her own. We talk about all of the emotions that grief brings. We talk about funerals. Is it right or wrong to get drunk at a funeral? Different cultures and how they grieve, and so much more on today's episode. So thank you for being here in our safe space and for tuning in today. So let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to Lost and Found with Frankie, a podcast for young adults and teens who are just trying to figure out who they are whilst dealing with one of life's most devastating experiences, grief. I'm Frankie, and 10 years ago, when I was 13 years old, I lost my eldest brother, Matt. Like you're probably feeling now, I felt lost, alone, angry, and completely overwhelmed with sadness, and was just craving a space where I could go and feel comforted and understood. So this podcast is my way of creating that space for you, whilst opening up the taboo topic of grief, which so many of us experience. So if you're feeling lost on your journey with grief, hi, and welcome to this safe space. Thank you so much for being here with me today. You are not alone. And I hope that this podcast brings whatever it is that you're seeking on your journey. So let's get into it. Welcome to the pod, my love. Don't know why I've just said welcome 3 times, but I have. So welcome times 3. Thanks for coming on. Means the world.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yay. So Leah is actually my best friend. We've actually been friends for 13 years.
Yeah, that's a long time. I didn't realise.
I only thought about that the other day when I was like coming to the podcast. I was like, oh my God, and me and Leah have been friends. And I was like, oh my God, we've been friends.
I thought it was like 10. I didn't realise it was 13.
Where's the other 3 years just gone?
That means we're getting old.
I know.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either.
And
yeah, it's cute. And we've been through a lot together. But yeah, since we met first year of secondary school.
Yeah.
We were 11. We're now 23, almost 24. Is that right?
God, yeah, don't remind me.
Don't remind me next week.
Literally in a week.
Happy birthday to Leah for next week.
Oh,
but yeah, but with that obviously means that like we've been through a lot together, and like actually have been friends the whole time. Like we've sort of gone through like different friendship groups, and like then we went to like different colleges and stuff.
Yeah, we've not like been at each other's hip the whole 13 years. We've kind of done our own thing and come back to each other, which is quite nice.
So nice.
Because like we've always like, even if we had like different friendship groups, we always just worked our way back together.
Yeah, and it kind of
nice. Just naturally. Like,
yeah. And it just makes my heart really warm that's like so nice, because it's also quite rare, I think.
Yeah.
Like I don't have that.
It's just
with
one of
like,
those friendships where like you can not see each other for months or like years, and you can just come back together.
It's like it was yesterday.
The exact same. Yeah, literally.
Which is so nice. But yeah, which also means that Leah you've been there through like all my losses actually, because Matt was like year 9, so like 2 years in to our friendships, which is like
it was early on. Yeah,
and we've been through some sad times for you recently as well. With everything that happened with your grandma, and like it's actually really recent. So I also just want to say thank you so much for coming on, because you're like super early in your grief, and it's very current. Not that any grief is not current, but like you're always going through grief, but like yours is super.
Yeah, it's fresh.
It's fresh.
Yeah.
But can I just say, I feel like you are like dealing with it so well.
Thank you.
And also something you do that's like really nice and refreshing is like you're not like afraid to talk about it. Like I remember when you came back, like we'll get into it in a minute, like how it all happened and stuff. But when you came back, like I remember I'm a big talker. Like I ask those questions. I'm an open book, and I'm always like, "What's wrong? What's up? Tell me, come on." And like you were just like really happy to talk about it, which not a lot of people can do because it's so hard. So I just want to say like, wow, you should be really proud of yourself.
Thanks.
So yeah, you let's give a bit of context. So
I basically started the year off traveling with my ex-boyfriend, and while we were out there, my nan got really sick, and my mum and dad were actually out in Australia with us, and they were always going to come back early, but they came back even earlier because they knew something was wrong. She was keeping it really low key. She didn't want anyone to stress and panic and come home, but she knew it was really bad. And I had an inkling. No one was telling me at the start what was happening because I was so far away. They didn't want me to be worried and be like focusing all on that. But I could just tell the whole time because, so I left on Boxing Day last year, and Christmas Day was the last time I saw my nan. And the last time I saw her, when we said goodbye, she got really emotional and like really upset because she wasn't feeling great, and she had a really bad feeling that it was the end. And so I could tell. She said bye to me and my mum because we were going away. My mum was only going away for 2 weeks, but she got really emotional saying goodbye to my mum because she was like, I don't know, there was no obviously reason for it. She had been a little bit ill just before we left, but I think she could tell something bad was she could feel it in her. And yeah, when she said goodbye to us, she just broke down crying. And you never really see my nan cry. She's quite like a strong lady. And when she left, my mum and dad were like, in like all our years, my nan's beat cancer 3 times before this last time.
Stop.
Yeah, she's been through it a few times, and she's never got like that. Like, she's never been emotional saying goodbye. Like, my mum's gone away for like months before. Like, she's not seen us for a long period of time. So from all that, you could just tell something was not right. And then we went out there, and I heard she wasn't reading great still, but like no big details in it. And then my mum was stressing, and she eventually told me that things weren't great, but she wasn't telling me the whole truth, which was really hard because being the youngest, I feel like things are always sort of, I understand it from like friends that I have that are older siblings. They don't tell their youngest sibling everything that goes on with their family because they don't want to stress them out. But being in that position, I know how like it's so horrible to know something's wrong, but no one tells you the full truth about it. But like you can just tell. But like I understand both sides, like why you wouldn't want to stress like your younger sibling or your daughter out. But yeah, I could tell something was wrong. And so I was in Australia for 6 weeks, and towards the end of my trip in Australia, when things were looking really bad with my nan, my mum eventually told me that she had cancer, pneumonia, COVID.
Oh my God.
Like, honestly, lists and lists. I can't even fully remember all of it. It was just endless. There was another issue that was just going on that was just like they couldn't even find the root of it. But there was just, one problem leads to another. There was just endless things wrong. And yeah, then we went to Vietnam after that, and I spent my whole time out there just every day stressing and being upset because it's so hard. I knew that it must be really bad because of the way I last saw her. And it's so hard being so far away from everyone, from your friends, your family. There's no one to comfort you. I was staying in hostels. Like, obviously it's like meant to be like the best experience of my life. And I had such a good time out there. But at the same time, it was sort of like in the back of my mind the whole time. Lingering. Any long bus journeys or anything, I just stopped to think about it. It would just break me. And it's so hard to just not be around anyone. You feel like you should be coming back to help and to like do something, but there's nothing you can do. And my nan would have got really angry if I'd like, not angry, but not been happy if I'd stopped my like big lifetime experience traveling to come back to like just sit and watch her sort of like deteriorate in a bed. And they kept hoping that it would get better and better. And then eventually my mum called me and was like, it's not getting better. So she passed the phone to my nan, and she said to me, like, do you want to just say anything you want to say? And then, so basically, yeah, it was a bit of a traumatic experience, all this. So we were in Vietnam. My mum told me to come home. So I booked my flight to come home, got to the airport. I had to stay overnight because the flight was in the morning. And that night, my mum called me and just said, like, do you want to say hi to your nan? So I get on the FaceTime and I say hi to her. And it honestly, I'd never seen anything like it. She didn't look like anything like herself. She was just like a shell of a person, like so frail and like not well. Like it broke me to see her like that. And I wanted to say so many things to her, but there was nothing that I I couldn't speak, otherwise I would just burst out crying, and I knew that if I cried she'd get upset. So I just about got out the words "I love you," and then she said "I love you too," and then that was the last things we said to each other. And then I came back, got the flight the next day, and landed with a really, really bad feeling in my stomach, just awful. Walked through the gates, saw my whole family there, and knew there's no way they would leave her. So I just knew as soon as I saw. And the whole car journey back, I didn't ask. They didn't tell me, I didn't ask. And then we got to my house and my mum was like, "Why have you not asked about your nan?" And I was like, "Because I don't want to know the answer." And then she was like, "She passed away this morning." And then that was that. I went into my house and there was loads of people there, and I just had to sort of sit and watch people cry. And yeah, it was pretty not a nice experience.
No.
One of my first proper experiences.
No, awful. Because honestly, I like remember it like happening. Because I remember because I must have come home, but when I was in Australia and we met in Sydney.
Yeah.
And it was like sort of, I think you knew by that point.
Yeah.
I think your mum had told you by that point, but it was kind of like, I don't think you were going to go home at that point. Because you had said to me, like, you were kind of toying with like the guilt of like, I know she'd be really upset with me if I cut this trip short and went home.
Yeah.
So that's a weird thing with grief, because like even though you want to go home and see her, it's then you're still like also trying to fulfill what you know she'd want from you, which is
exactly
really hard to balance.
Yeah, I didn't want to upset her, but it also, I knew that it was either stay and try and enjoy the travels, it was still so much fun when I was there, or come back and potentially sit, unemployed at home, just not even really being able to see her because she was only allowed limited visitors and she wasn't really letting anyone see her. And it's just sort of sitting and waiting for bad news. I was like, do I come back and wait and just not be able to do anything at home? That's what my whole family kept telling me, like, don't come back, you're not going to be able to do anything, and it's just going to be so depressing and hard, especially like that time of the year, like January, February time.
No.
So I tried not to, I was very upset that I didn't actually get to say goodbye in person.
Yeah.
But I try not to live with regret, because I know how hard it was just to see her on FaceTime that last time, not herself at all. It's kind of nice to remember her the way that I do.
Yeah.
And they all my family remember her in such a bad state, and they're like, you feel so lucky that you didn't have to go through that. Like, it was a whole nother sort of different type of thing for me out there, because it was just, I had my boyfriend, but I was so alone in terms of like my
feelings,
family, and not being able to do anything. So yeah, I tried to, like, everyone was like, "Are you really upset that you didn't get to say goodbye?"
What? Also, that's so weird that like then that imparts it on you, and then you think to yourself, should I be feeling like, and then makes you feel like you should, which is so bad.
I also just had a feeling the whole time that, I don't know why, but I just had this weird feeling the whole time that whenever I got the flight back, I just wouldn't have made it. And then it happened, and then I was like, I don't know, it was something that I just expected to happen, so it wasn't as much of a shock to me. Like, as soon as I landed, I was like, no, something's not right.
Just like that cringe thing of like, what's meant to be will be, like, it happened that way, and in your head it's like, maybe if you didn't flow back the 2 days before, it might have just happened then. Kind of thing.
I feel like you can't control these things, and you can't
still
plan these things. And it was tough, but I tried to just think of it in a positive way of, I get to just remember all the good stuff and her in her healthy, nice state.
And you got to say I love you in a goodbye sense.
I will treasure that forever.
Yeah.
Because if the last thing I'd said was something random on FaceTime, like, I don't know, I just, it all just kind of happened the way it should have happened, I guess.
And it's so interesting that, like, within like a family, when you lose someone, like, not in like jealousy, but you always wonder like, they're probably thinking like, oh, you're lucky you didn't see her that way, as you just said. But then you're there like, I was on the other side of the world without any of my family or my friends. You're so lucky you were at home with mum and dad and with each other, and you had your friends around you. but like it's so weird because you always want what you didn't have in an experience like that.
No one can really know which way round. Neither one's better or worse than the other. It's just their own kind of individual experiences, and they're both not going to be great at the end of the day. It's not a nice thing that we went through. But yeah, then we came back and had to immediately start planning.
Yeah, that was quick.
The funeral. And I found out
quick. What's normal? I wasn't
sure how long it was going to take, but I found out that there's a time of the year where it's like a sort of like death time of the year. In the colder months, all the oldies sort of struggle, and all the older people, not all the older people, but a lot of older people pass away during the colder months because it's quite like tough for them. You get more ill. But yeah, we just found out that it was, death season, and like there was a backlog of not being able to. We knew people that weren't able to have funerals for like 2 months, and I was like, oh my god, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I'm gonna have to because I always planned on going back out traveling eventually whenever I felt ready, but I didn't know how long that would be a break of. I wasn't sure how long I'd be at home. Kind of depended on the funeral and things, but yeah, I thought I could be back home for a few months, and I was like, oh my god. But luckily, through people we knew and stuff, we were able to get it soon, but it was still about a month. And then I went back traveling after the funeral.
Which is like also so strong of you.
That was tough because I felt like I don't want to wait around at home and just I when I got back, I wanted to get back out there because it was not very nice being at home. As much as it was so nice to finally be around my family and like a support system, I was quite sad that I'd come back. It was such a different experience to what I was having out there. It was all nice, sunshine, happy times, traveling, and then come home and it's quite sad, depressing. Dark, cold, British winter weather. Days. It got dark at 4 p.m. I was like, oh, take me back. But then I ended up booking my flight for a few days after the funeral, which is really soon after, but it just had to work out that way. And at the time I was like, oh my god, I'm not ready. But I just went for it, got on the flight, and eventually you have such a good time out there. So
and it's such a different experience to being at home that
it's a nice
it feels like a polar opposite.
Not that you should be distracted at that time, but it is nice to get away from it after you go through it. It's nice to have a bit of a change of scenery. And
but if that works at that time for you, then there's nothing saying you shouldn't either. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just not a nice time. And it's a weird time, when you've not been through anything like that before. Because, also, funerals are just, they're just, really weird. Honestly, when you actually deep it, they're just odd. You lose this person, and then it's right, we then have to, pick photos for them, and who's going to come, and what food are we going to have after.
You put all your energy into, that person's life. You got to go through all their things. You got to go through all photos. And it makes it's kind of nice because at that time that person's all you're thinking about, obviously. But at the same time, I felt really bad for, my mum and stuff having to go through and sort. She was organising everything with my aunties. They were all organising everything. But, it's the people that are going through it the most that have to take on the most in terms of planning and organising. And it's just I wish there was someone else that could just sort it all out, because as nice as it is to look back through stuff and you find things and you think about things that you wouldn't have before, but it's so tough to have to they had to do so much preparation and organising, and it was such a stressful time. They couldn't wait for it to be done after it because it was just so much problem stresses going into it. And then in the end it ended up being a really nice day.
Oh my god, it was
which is weird to say for a funeral, because I've personally only experienced before Greek funerals from my dad's side, which are just I can't. They're just the most dramatically upsetting things you'll ever experience.
Dramatically upsetting?
Oh no, just people are wailing, crying. It's all so dramatic. They just, and you can't crack a smile. There's sort of rules and regulations. We don't do this, but I know other people that do, they say, I think it's for like 40 days or something after the person passes, you're not meant to go out, you're not meant to drink, you're not meant to listen to music, all this crazy stuff. They basically take it to the extreme of like, you
it's
have
like
to
mourning.
be sad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
you
being
have
in a
to
sense of
mourn
mourning.
this way. And then the funeral's just like, you have to be all sat around really sad. Whereas the Irish side is the complete opposite, where it's more of just like a celebration of life.
Yeah.
And it was that. It was everyone getting together, reminiscing, and it was a nice sunny day.
Yeah.
And it felt more like a celebration of life, which is so much better in my opinion. And I had my Greek cousins coming up to me like, oh,
this is great.
This is the best funeral ever. They were like, the way that the Irish do it is so much better, and the English are the same.
Yeah.
I think they'd celebrate life more, whereas like it's just cultural, obviously different people do different things. Some cultures, they wear all different colours and it's a proper party celebration. But yeah, it ended up being a nice day in the end.
No, yeah, it was a lovely day. Yeah. And then because you were back at yours after.
Yeah. At our house, it felt like quite like personal doing it there. We felt like we had to do it there.
Yeah, it was really nice. There were so many people there.
Loads of people came. Which is also really nice, to show like how many people, like what she meant to so many people.
Yeah.
She was such like a ray of sunshine in everyone's lives, and
it's a really nice testament.
That day when everyone turned up, it's a really nice testament to her.
Yeah, for sure. Which is also a nice thing you can take away from it.
Yeah.
Even though like they're just like weird events, because I feel like all the funerals I've been to, well, they've all been like slightly different, but then also like not really, because they've all been quite close to me. I've like spoken or sang at each one, and they're like such weird things, because like you get there and you have to like greet all these people like 3 weeks, a month, whatever, after you've just lost this person, and then you're just like, hi, oh my god, how are you? And having like a small talk catch up.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm about to just speak at this point. I just like, it's weird to me that it's such a normal. So then I think after's quite nice.
After's nice. It's more relaxed. You're not having to obviously stress about going up on stage and saying something, and you're not just knowing that you've only got like a second to talk to people, so you just keep it brief.
Yeah.
Also, when people were coming up to me and saying, I'm sorry for your loss, I didn't know how to respond to that. I said thanks, and then I was like, is that right? I said thanks. Thank you for being sorry. Every person that came up to me said, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'd be like, thanks. And I'd be like, wait, thanks. Like,
cheers,
yeah.
But it's so true, like, because there is like nothing really to say. Like, there's stuff to say and like ways to help in general, but I feel like on a day like that, and this is the thing, like so many people, like our friends, for example, who like lose people or whatever, a lot of the time like people will come to me because they'll be like, she's lost people, like she's got words of wisdom, what do you say? And I'm there like, I still don't know.
There's not like advice,
because there's nothing to say. Like, I remember I went straight up to your mum and again was like, I'm so sorry for your loss, knowing that I did not like receiving that.
But then at the
when
same
it was
time,
mine,
on the other side, what else is there to say? Like, you feel like you need to say something.
Yeah. And just show that, like, well, I guess also, like, you could be like, I'm here for whatever you need, which I also said as well. But, like, sorry for your loss has just become, like, such a...
It's just a standard thing. And I feel like if you don't say it, then it's like, oh, she's not said anything. Like, I don't know. I feel like some people might take it in a way of, like...
true. And then it's, like, I feel like also later down the line, like, when I have it a lot, like, I feel like with grandparents, it happens less so. Because it's like a chronological loss, like it doesn't make sense, but like it's natural. But with like Matt, for example, like later down, like 7 years later, like I'll tell people and they just go, sorry, and I'm like, it's okay.
It's such a shock.
I'm like telling them it's okay.
It's such a shock.
Yeah,
like it's so unnatural. Like, it's not what's meant to happen at all.
No.
And there's nothing anyone can say because it's just awful.
Yeah.
And
obviously, like, depending on the mindset that whoever's dealing with grief like that is in, but I find myself, like, most of the time I end up comforting somebody else when I've told them about it, because then they can get really emotional, and then they're like,
it's hard
I'm so sorry.
It makes people upset.
Yeah, because
honestly.
Then if they haven't experienced something like that, or two, they then feel like they have brought something up that you don't want to talk about. So then they start being like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then I'm there like, don't worry, like, it's fine. I'm there like, yeah, it's crap. But like, I end up then a bit like you with being like, so sorry for your loss, thanks, but don't worry, like,
Yeah, don't worry.
we're at a
Like,
funeral.
you don't want to make people upset, and you don't want to.
Yeah,
It's
so
just
then
it's
it's
not there's
weird.
not a right or wrong thing to say on
No.
either side.
No. Then you end up like sort of like comforting them.
Yeah, when it's
Yeah.
your loss.
And I feel like actually, I don't know if you found this with like your grandma's funeral, but like having, like, I feel like I'm very much like smiley, have been. And I feel like it's quite like a numb experience. Did you find that? I felt very, because I had to do something at the funeral.
Yeah.
Before the funeral and like leading up to it, I felt like very like, I was just smiling loads. Everyone was looking at me like, what is wrong with this girl? Like, she's sitting front row. She clearly means something if they didn't know me.
Yeah.
She's just like, just lost her grandma, her granddad. Like, why is she smiling? And it's because I was like, if I think about that, I'm going to burst into tears. So I kind of made myself be like really numb.
And sometimes people like nervously like smile and like, laugh and things at funerals just because it's just, you just don't know what to do, and you feel your emotions inside are not what's coming out on your face, but it just happens naturally and you can't do anything about it. I didn't have that. I was freaking out because I just was focusing on the fact that I was going to be getting up on stage. Yeah. I was just panicking. But like, I was fine, kind of. My legs were kind of shaking like jelly. But it was, I wasn't smiling just because I was internally freaking out about having to get up in front of people. And I never have.
But I think that was unreal. And I think your grandma would be so proud of you. I would have loved that you did that. Because it's hard enough like to speak, let alone get a tune right. Yeah. And do lyrics. Like,
I know.
What? Like,
I know. And it's so scary, honestly. I wanted to do it because I felt like that's the only way. I wanted to do something. Yeah. And I knew like my brothers were going to be like carrying the coffin and doing things like that. My cousins were like, one of my cousins wrote a poem. It was really sweet. And like they were all doing their own sort of things. And I felt like I want to do something. And the only thing I could think that like would mean anything to me would be to sing. But like,
and mean to her, I'm sure.
No, before that I had not really sung in front of anyone. Like, I know. No family, no friends, no nothing. But when I was really, really young, like a kid, my mum and dad always like wanted me to sing, and then so they said it to me. They said, "Oh, do you want to like kind of passing comment like, oh, do you want to sing?" And I was like, "Well, maybe." And they like stopped, like, "Wait, what? You'd sing at your grand's funeral?" Thinking like, "Can she actually sing? Like, is she like? We haven't heard her in a long time."
Because then imagine
they're like, "Are you sure?"
You're there like, yeah, really want to sing. And imagine you get up there, they're like, oh
no. So that was really scary. And then I eventually got the courage to just sing in front of just my mum and the lady that sings at the church.
Oh yeah.
And that was so scary in itself, but I practiced a few times there and kind of got used to the environment. But then with the amount of people that turned up to my nan's funeral, I was like, right, I'd been told like, right, just focus on something at the back of the church. So I was literally stood up barely, like legs shaking like jelly, staring at this stained glass window. And I managed to literally stare, I think, not stare, but look at everyone in the eye in the audience, like managed to go around one by one, even though I meant to stare at one time, managed to look at everyone's expressions, everyone crying and stuff. I was like, right, no, focus. Yeah. Literally just darted around the room. But, did it, I guess.
You did.
I did.
And from what I've heard, I wasn't there, but from what I heard, it was, you're a real singer.
It's all a blur.
And you should be so proud of yourself. And whether it was good, bad, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, you got up there and you did something. And I honestly think that in itself, like, is enough.
I know.
And I think there's so much, like, did you feel like any pressure to do it? Or was it pretty much more, as you said, you wanted to?
I basically said to my mum, can you not tell anyone that I'm going to do it? And then it would just be like a surprise if I do it, depending on I was really unsure on the day whether I was just going to be a mess and not be able to get up there. And I was like, I don't want it to be on the like pamphlet, whatever. And then I have to do it. So I was like, don't tell anyone. And then last minute, they were like, we really want it to remember it in the book. Because they made this really nice like pamphlet book, whatever it's called. and they were like, we want you to be a part of it and be in it. So like, can we just put your name in it? And I was like, okay. Then I have to do it. But then it wasn't like pressure, but they were like, oh, you don't have to, but like, it would be really nice if you did. So I put my name in. So I was like, right, I've committed now. I have to get up there.
Which might have actually helped you.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Semi go through with it. Like, even if it was just a little bit, like a little bit of a.
No, a little push.
Yeah.
Because I might have backed out on the day if I didn't have that there. And it also would have been really random if no one was reading, no one had seen it in the thing, and I just stood up and started saying, people like, what's going on? But I think it was actually more random people reading in the book before going, have they got this right?
Yeah,
just going to sing. But that's what people said to me
after.
Said sing. People were like, it says Leah's singing a song. Is that right? No, I don't think. I think I must have got a typo. But no, yeah, it worked out in the end. How did you find it what did you do at Matt's? Because I know at your nan's when I was there, you sang.
Yeah,
really
oh my God,
sweet.
You were
yeah,
there.
It was so sweet.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That actually kind of motivated me to do it a bit. Thinking about you doing it, like I remember, like when you did it, I was actually crying and so
God.
like proud, thinking like I could never do that. But
wow, look, you did.
Thanks to you. It honestly like motivated me to do it a bit. Like having seen someone that I'm so close to have the courage to get up and do it. Like,
thank you.
But how did you find it when you did it?
Well, it's actually it was a really bad day because, obviously, but it's because we had like it was weird. We had like the funeral and then the memorial, but like the funeral was like close immediate family. So then it was weird. Like we wore all black to that, and that was honestly probably, apart from Matt's funeral, was one of the most like upsetting experiences I've ever had. Like it was so emotional, and they were on the same day. So we had a funeral at a crematorium. Ooh, I hate that word. And that was literally immediate family, and that was like the official funeral. And then we had a memorial at the same church in.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's what I came to.
Yes, so that was like anyone who knew Nan, like come, like we'd love you all there. And that's where I was singing. So then my dad spoke at my nan's funeral, not the memorial. Honestly, like literally got me. I was bawling my eyes. Everyone was, because my mum and my dad had been together since they were like 17. So then, and my mum's dad passed away when she was 21. So like, my dad's been there through like everything. And this is also like after Matt. So like they'd been through a lot at this point. And like honestly, him getting so emotional really got me emotional. And then I was like, oh, let me just change it to like a pretty florally dress, because then we changed out of black for the memorial. We were like, celebrate, woo. And then I was like, oh my God, I have to sing. And then we went for some we went for like lunch, but I just look back at it and it's just weird. I literally didn't eat a thing. I just couldn't eat, because I just felt
at the pub after?
Before the memorial.
Oh, I was gonna say,
I just like couldn't eat. And then my mum's like, do you want to go have a practice? I hadn't practiced at all yet. I was like, yeah, probably a good idea. But weirdly, like, you know me, like I'm quite a performative person. Yeah. And as I say, like, I think I definitely put like a front on that day. Like, had I like masked my emotions for sure. Like, I was just like smiling like a Cheshire cat. And honestly, everyone was looking at me like, are you all right? Like, what's going on here? Like, it can be normal too, but, and then I got up there, sang, and then I sat down, and bless Harry, my boyfriend Harry, he'd sat on like the row behind our family row.
Oh.
So he was sat on a row on his own.
Oh.
Like the seat behind me, and I sat down. Everyone else was crying because I just sang, and I burst into tears. It was kind of like, hey, that's done. And now I can like, I just burst into tears. And again, everyone was then looking at me like, Yes. But they're just like weird things that I feel like everyone approaches them differently, copes with them differently. And then I also sang at my granddad's funeral. And now I'm like, oh God, I'm going to have to get like a list of songs, because like, I'm only 23.
People said it to me. They were like, you've started something now.
I know.
You know, I've been singing everyone's funeral now.
Yeah.
Like,
oh crap. Like we've both started this thing now where like you've set a standard. And I'm like,
honestly, I've literally not sung since, and I don't know how I'd ever do that. But
I know, it's so weird, like performing almost at like a thing like that.
And I felt a bit like, I don't want it to be all focused on, you know, me performing. And stuff. I want it to
be on her,
veer away from like what we're meant to be focusing on. But I don't think it did. To be fair, it was just like my little
tribute
way of my little tribute today.
Nice. And I think that was nice.
Yeah.
But it was so funny. This is a funny thing I do remember.
Funny.
I jumped there, but I remember, so we us girls came to your house after, and I like in the crowd, like I saw your mum, and I remember being like, just giving her a big cuddle and just being like, I'm here for whatever you need. I'm literally down the road, like anything you need, I'm here. And then I was like, such a stupid question, but like, how was it? I remember saying that, like, I know it's such a stupid question, but as we said, there's nothing right to say.
No,
but I was like, how was it? How was Leah? And me and Shah were like, stood there, and she was like, she was just amazing. Like, I'm so proud of her. Like, she did so well. And we were like, oh, we're so proud of her. Like, you hadn't told us anything of this. And then she said it again. And me and like Shah just kind of looked at each other like, wait, and then we kind of both went, oh, like, did she speak? And your mum's like, she sang. And we were like, what? Like, bearing in mind, like, obviously, knowing you all that time, I was literally like, what? And then I was like, oh my God, like, I'm so proud of having done it as well. I was like, I literally couldn't have felt more proud in that moment, and like just how incredible that is for you to do. But it was quite funny. Like, I remember all of our reactions.
I couldn't tell anyone because I had like
it makes so much sense.
We didn't even tell people before. They just obviously read it in the brochure and was like, brochure. But yeah, they were like, what? And then my whole family were having the same reaction, coming up to me like, excuse me, what, like, since when did you say that? Like, my immediate family, all like, what on earth's going on?
But no, it makes sense.
That's why I partly told you guys to come to the after park, because I was like, if you guys are looking at me while I'm doing it, I'll laugh.
Yeah,
I'll laugh at my nan's funeral.
Yeah,
so I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You guys can't come. I'll be too like shy. Like,
I literally was like, I would have bawled my eyes out there if I heard that.
I know. I think I say like I'd laugh and you'd laugh. I feel like you guys would laugh, but at the same time, like, you definitely wouldn't have laughed. But like, I'd be so embarrassed that like I'd met you guys.
We'd be pretty crap friends.
Yeah, I know, but like,
I get what you mean, and I get why you didn't say anything, because then again, it's a sense of like, it puts pressure on it.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to keep it,
and I can't believe it actually wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it was. We recently got together because it had been 6 months.
Oh
yeah.
What's recently?
End of August, I think, like the 28th of August or something. We got together because it'd been 6 months since her passing, so the funeral would have been like, well, now I guess like around 6 months
now. Yeah,
but yeah, it's been a weird year. It's been a really weird year, because it's been like such ups traveling and such downs, like the downest of downs, and then the uppest of ups, like traveling, like how best. Like serotonin is at just an all-time high out there, but it's just you just have at the same time it's just such a weird thing.
That is a like bonkers year.
Really weird year,
because you're like, how am I meant to feel, like what's normal, like I
felt guilty a little bit in a way, like going back out there and like going out and doing all these random things. I felt a bit like my whole family's back at home, like my mum's. I felt really guilty as well leaving my mum, because when I was at home I was literally like at her hip the whole time. Like, obviously we're all going through it, but for her, like, it's such a close, like, your mum isn't the same as like I had such a good relationship with my grandma, and I felt like our relationship was so special. But I kind of realised, I always thought that like me and my nan were like really close, but I kind of realised when she passed that all of us felt like that. All of like the grandchildren felt like they had their own little special thing with her in their own little weird way. And I just always thought like, no, we're just like the best friends.
It's me.
But like, I guess everyone had that in
That's
their own
so
little
nice
way. But I felt really bad for my mum, and I felt like I didn't want to leave her and I felt guilty that I had left her when I went back out, because I just wanted to be there for her. But again, she would have not let me stay and like gotten upset with me trying to like hold her hand. But just an odd time.
Yeah. And I feel like when you were saying when you were out there before, it's kind of the same thing of going back out, like, as your family had said to you, but you would have just been sat around like post funeral, like wishing in a sense you were out there, but then also not being out there. And I feel like it's
either way. You just feel like you should be somewhere else. So it's such a weird thing.
Yeah, that's hard.
But Yeah. I mean, it's been tough, but it's been a good year, like, mostly.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's obviously
Yeah.
all that. But again, like, it was a nice way to end it. It'd been a month of
Yeah.
not feeling great, everything being doom and gloom and stress of planning and freaking out that I was going to get up and sing in front of people. But then the day was just so, it couldn't have gone better in a weird way. It just couldn't have gone better. It was a nice sunny day. We all celebrated. I drank, which I never really drink at funerals. But again, the Irish, they like to have a proper send off. And
which is true. Like, that's sort of thing. Like, is it weird to get really drunk at a funeral?
I know, that's what it felt weird.
Were you really drunk?
I wasn't really drunk. I feel like a lot of my family members did get a bit drunk, but like, it is meant to be a celebration.
Yeah.
And like, she really would have wanted it to be like that. And I think it's so much nicer because you kind of just relax after, so like, you're not going to, none of us had really drunk that whole time. So it was like kind of just like the last day of everything, all the stress was over, kind of celebrate the life, relax a little bit, and just, yeah. But I was a bit sad. People were saying to me, oh, like, she would have been so proud and this and that. But I'm like, but I never really told anyone that I could, like, that I would ever sing, and I never really sang in front of her. So I got a little bit upset that day because everyone was saying this, but I was like, but she has like no idea. Like, I'm sad that I never had the courage to like for her to ever hear me sing. Like, she'll never know. But in a weird way, I guess, like, something good came out of it. Like, I was able to do that, like, finally in front of people. In a weird way, like, a sad thing had to happen for it to happen. But
yeah, like a weird turn of events, a positive thing but comes out of that.
Yeah, again, I try not to focus on the negatives. I try and keep it positive. And like,
you've got such a good mindset. Like,
something good came out of it.
Yeah.
Not, oh, she never heard me sing and I should have done it in front of her. Oh, I should have come back earlier and said my goodbyes. No, I remember her in a good way.
Yeah.
I had the courage to actually do something I would never do. And yeah.
And
here I am.
Yeah. And you should just stick by that and be so thankful to yourself that you've like carried yourself that way. And like, I think with grief, like, there's just constantly so many what ifs, like, all the time. Like, it's always, oh, what if I've done that? What if I've done that? And like, the fact that pretty much 7-ish months now, you have got to the point where you're like, no, I'm not going to look at it that way. It's like incredible, because it definitely took me like a really long time to get to that point. And obviously everyone's different. Everyone's at different age, different time in their life. But like, I think that's also would be such a testament to your nan, like, that you are looking at it with that perspective and just being like, and I know it's tricky that you think it's kind of like, oh, but I sang for her, but she wasn't there, which is such a weird concept. But
she didn't get to hear it.
Yeah, but in my grief brain, I'm quite like spiritual in the sense that I think she would have heard it.
I know, part of me does feel like that as well.
Yeah.
And I like to feel like that. But yeah, at the same time, it's just like, oh, I wish I could have done that before. Yeah. But, you know.
But you can't, as you say, you can't think like that because you never would have. Like, yeah.
And that's, I try and just focus on the positives. It's not like, oh, I didn't have as much time with her. I'm just grateful that she got cancer the first time when she was 60, before I was born.
Yeah.
And I could have never met her. And she fought it and got over it and got it again when I was about 10, and then got it again when I was about 18, and trumped it all those times. And I got to spend all those years with her, a good 23 years of my life. And I got to have we all had such like strong relationships with her, which could have never happened if the first time she didn't beat it. So I'm just grateful for what we did have.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's making me emotional. But it's nice because you should, that's like, not should's the wrong word, but like it's really nice that you view it that way.
Yeah.
Because grief can be like a really dark place.
Definitely. it is like
It is, yeah.
it is
a
like
dark
obviously
place.
I'm saying all this now,
Yeah.
but like it was tough
Yeah.
at the start of this year.
And how are you feeling now? 6 months on.
6 months on, obviously, you know, I'm trying to focus on the positives, and I don't know, maybe I'm a bit delayed in how I've dealt with it because I did kind of take myself away from the whole situation straight away. So hopefully I'm not going to, you know, get hit with all the emotion again. I think like certain times of the year are going to be hard. It's my birthday in a week. Christmas is soon. Certain things like that I know I'm dreading because I'm like, oh, it's just not quite the same. I know you must feel that it's tough at those times. But, you know,
you've got people around you that love you.
Yeah.
And as I always say, like, my tip with grief is always just like, just ask.
Yeah.
Someone will always be there. I will, with you, always be there. And it's like, if you're needing something or wanting something, or even if you're like, for example, not even wanting to cry or talk, if you want a distraction, like, just let us all know.
Exactly. And I do feel like I have that.
Yeah.
So,
which is nice.
So I'm all right.
Yeah. I want to ask, like, what sort of advice you would give. I know you are literally here now, but like, what advice, like, if you were to look back now at you 6 months ago, what advice would you give to someone who's like similarly in your shoes or within that sort of age and losing a grandparent or a loved one? Like, is there anything you wish you could have said to yourself then, or therefore say to someone else?
I guess kind of the stuff that I've been saying about like trying to focus on like what you did have rather than what, you know, you can't have anymore. Like, I try and look at it in a more grateful way of I appreciate the time that I've had. Obviously it really depends. Obviously for your loss with Matt, like, it's a different type of thing. It's more unnatural and just it was more of a shock and everything. So I don't know, you know, it's hard to immediately feel like that. It's hard to immediately be like, oh well, at least it's still just never gonna feel good at the start. Like, it just won't. But you have to just feel what you want to feel, cry when you want to cry, and like you'll get there eventually. But you know, you don't focus too much on, oh, but I wish this had happened, or I wish I had done this, or like she could have come to this, or she would have done this and that. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I just
I think you explained it really well.
See it in more of what you did have. It's like you can't change it and you can't do anything. So you just have to. It's so hard because at the start you're not going to feel like that. You're not going to be positive and be like, oh well, I'm at least this and at least that. It's just gonna feel bad, and it will for a little while. But you know, it doesn't get easier. You just sort of learn to deal with it. Just feel what you want to feel. And let it all out.
Have no guilt about your feelings.
Have no guilt about what's happened. And
that's hard to say sometimes, but
that's not what I would want to say to someone at the start, because obviously at the start it's just
you're going to feel everything,
and it just doesn't feel like it's ever going to end, and it doesn't feel like anything good can ever come. But you know, time has to pass for things to change and things to feel different. Not exactly better, but just different. And
just allow yourself to feel what you feel.
Just don't feel guilty. That's your big one. That was the message.
That's your big one. I like that, because guilt
don't feel guilty, and don't feel,
because guilt's a weird emotion. I find guilt a hard emotion to tackle. Like, anger and sadness I actually find easier to tackle than guilt. Guilt's a weird one. Because it's all on you. Because you're like, obviously you're the one being sad, but like with guilt, it's like you kind of put that on yourself. No one else is telling you to feel guilty. Feeling sad and feeling angry is almost more normal. I don't know, like guilt, it's just, I've struggled to tackle guilt. So you have, and you should be really proud.
Thanks.
Wow.
Thanks.
But yeah, I think that's a good message to end on. Just like feel what you want to feel and like
be emotional.
be emotional, feel the emotions, but don't get dragged into what you didn't have.
Cliche, but like obviously don't hold it in and put on a brave face. Don't feel like you have to do that. Just deal with it in the way that you want to deal with it. And don't worry about anything else. And eventually things will feel a little bit differently.
Hopefully in a good way.
Yay.
Yeah. I like it. That's a good message to end on. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. It means the world.
Thank you so much for having me and listening to me.
Yeah, of course. And I think that would have been really helpful to a lot of people. So
I hope so.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Lost and Found with Frankie. If it's resonated with you, or if you've taken something from this episode, or if you've just sat down and enjoyed it, I'd be so grateful if you could rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hit that follow button, and if you're watching me over on YouTube, please give it a like and subscribe. I really want to reach as many young people and teens who are dealing with grief, as I know firsthand how much hearing conversations like this can help. So if you know someone who could benefit from what we've talked about here today, please give it a share with them too. And come say hello on Instagram and TikTok at Lost and Found with Frankie. So thank you again for being in this space here with me, and I'll see you next time.